welcome back to my channel. I hate long intros, so we're going to get right into it. Today I have a Christmas special. I'm just kidding. It's Big Twist's new Christmas yarn. I was super excited when I saw it. I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. I love the colors, peppermint, the holiday cheer, all of it. There are 8 options and I was able to get 6. I'm really bummed about the 2 that I didn't get, but here are the ones that I did. First is Festive Fun. Next is Punch Bowl. Here is Juniper Shrub. This is Merry Mingle. This is Peppermint Ribbon. And finally, I have Yuletide. The 2 colors I wasn't able to get was Jingle Bell Stripe and Get Merry and Let's Mingle. Get Merry and Let's Mingle was the one that I was super bummed about not getting. I have a few Christmassy projects planned, but first we're going to start off with a failed hexagon stocking. I totally went on autopilot and only did 5 sides, which is a pentagon and not a hexagon. I didn't realize that right away that I totally donked it up, and by that point I was kind of in a time crunch, so 5 sides it was. I actually kind of like how goofy it looks. It's got like a pointed toe, sort of like your typically pictured pointy elf shoes, so I'm gonna go with it. It's for my daughter, and as long as I try my best, she loves whatever I make. She is the lover of all my reject projects, and that makes me happy. This is a yarn review, so I have to say I do love how soft this yarn is. I love the color just so much, but randomly in the stocking you'll see a few sort of pinkish white chunks of yarn, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I don't love it. I don't know if that was meant to be colored that way, or if it was an accident, or if other skeins don't have that, but mine does. I only got the one, so I'm not sure. But I kind of feel like that's distracting to the whole piece since it's not consistent. It's just sort of thrown in there. Also, these skeins are 4.3 ounces instead of the normal 6 ounces that you get with a regular value skein of Big Twist. So I don't love that you get less for the same price, but I do really love these colors and I love how cute it works up minus that little white spot. I used almost the entire skein of yarn for this. I do like how it turned out. It's not originally what I had planned, but I still like it. My daughter thinks it's awesome and that's all that matters. If you were here for my previous yarn review, then you know that I like to run the yarn through my knitting machine, so I can talk about that too. So I have a cat. His name is Carl. He's big and gray and very cold. It's cold in Iowa and he's a cold boy. I spent a lot of time trying to find him a sweater online, but the sizing is weird because he's twice the size of a regular cat. So this big boy needs a big sweater. I found out that my 48-pin knitting machine will make knitted tubes that will fit around Carl. So obviously he needed a knitted sweater made with Christmas yarn. I let my spawn decide what color his sweater should be, and this is the one that she chose. So I made a tube leaving 2 armholes. It's not really a sweater without sleeves. Without sleeves you just have a sweater vest, so I had to make sleeves. I originally crocheted them, but as you can see, they were a little bit tight and it didn't allow Carl to move around as freely as he should, so I took them out and I ran 2 tubes through my 22-pin knitting machine and I sewed those in. It worked out way better that way. After he wore it around the first day, I realized that the collar was a little wonky too, so I did go back and crochet 2 or 3 rows around the top so it has a little bit more of a cinched look around the collar so it doesn't roll down. He's usually extremely vocal and has something to say about absolutely everything, but when we put his sweater on, he didn't say anything and gave 0 meows about it. He seems to like it a little bit better with the knitted sleeves and the added color. I would likely use Big Twist to make him another sweater in the future. Next, with the same yarn as Carl's sweater, I wanted to make my daughter a plushie. She collects weird plushies, and while I have seen some Christmas plushies, I don't see a lot of Christmas ornament plushies. They're usually actual ornaments, where this one will be 100% a plushie for decoration or cuddling and not for hanging around on the tree. I am going to give this ornament 16mm safety eyes. Looking at it now, I think that if I did this project over again, I'd probably go with 20mm safety eyes because I just love cute things with big eyes and happy little smiles. I am going to give this just a plain little happy face. I was going to give it pink cheeks, but I decided against that because I didn't want to take away from the striping of the Christmas yarn. So I probably would add that again in the future if I ever decided to do a project like this again. This particular color, which is Yuletide, is probably my favorite of the bunch. It had a really pretty striping and it's super soft, just like the other ones. And it ran through my knitting machine really well, and crocheting with it is super easy. It also didn't have any weird or random coloring like I had with Festive Fun. I'm still not sure if that is intentional or not. And here is the ornament plushie all done. It's not super complicated. I just wanted it to be kind of cute and festive. It's got little safety eyes and a little smile, so I like how it turned out. I think it's really cute. Next on the list of Christmas projects, a Christmas cat. We already have Carl, but this one will always be happy and won't meow at you in the middle of the night because he's bored. I ran this yarn through the knitting machine. The way that these plushies are made is basically folding the tube into itself so it's doubled. Otherwise, the knit stitches will stretch and you'll see the stuffing inside. I'm going to sew the ends together on one side, partially stuff, sort of section out where I want the head and body to separate, and then sort of form a neck. After that, I will add my safety eyes and stuff it the rest of the way. Then I will close the top, and once the top of the head is closed, I can go back and form the cat ears. Once the cat is all sewn together, I am going to use some of the leftover yarn from Carl's sweater for the face. I am just going to embroider the nose, mouth, and whiskers. This yarn went through my 48-pin knitting machine really well, but it was a little wonky with the 22-pin knitting machine. They are different brands of circular knitting machine, and that is probably the reason why. The 48-pin knitting machine also has a little thing called a tensioner, which keeps the yarn going through the machine at a specific tension, and the 22-pin circular knitting machine does not have a tensioner, it just has a yarn guard. I usually don't have a problem with it, but this yarn seems to be a touch thinner than the other yarn, so it kept trying to get stuck at the beginning of the project. After about row 20, it stopped doing that, so if you have a circular knitting machine and you're going to use this yarn, I would watch out for that. Once the nose, mouth, and whiskers are completed, the only thing left to do after that is a tail. I don't have an I-cord maker, so I am going to just crochet the tail. I like to make it a little rectangle and then roll it up and sew it shut to make a tube. I think it's easier that way. It sort of naturally curls the way that I want to, so it's a lot less fighting with yarn. If you don't know what an I-cord maker is, think of it like a tiny circular knitting machine, but instead of making a large tube, it makes a little cord. It sort of looks like a tiny knitted rope, and it's very, very cute. I forgot to take a final video to show the completed cat plushie, so my sweet daughter came to the rescue with this, so please tell her in the comments that she did a great job. She is the best. The next project that I have is in the color Juniper Shrub, which is so, so pretty. I love the way it looks, and I love the subtle striping for this. I am making a hat for a friend for Christmas. Her favorite color is green, and while this should go in one of my Stitch with Love videos, it's going here. I am going to make her a fox hat. This friend actually has a green fox hat for me already, but not this beautiful Christmassy juniper shrub color. For the inner ear, I used Big Twist's Value yarn in ivory. I thought it complemented the light colors in the yarn better than a regular white would. My light box had an electrical short and went to the great beyond, so you'll just have to imagine this hat on a mannequin head. I haven't been able to get a new one yet, so just use your imagination. And the final project. I made this one on a whim. I was going to end it with my friend's hat, but then I thought, how cute would it be to have a little fox plushie too? I sort of intended for this to be sort of a ragdoll type of plushie. The arms are not stuffed, so this little fox has a case of the floppy arms, which I think is very cute in ragdolls. I made all the pieces on my 22 pin knitting machine. It was a little tricky because each new piece was a little wonky during the first 10 rows or so. Oh, I did forget that I did crochet the tail. I was kind of done with fighting with my knitting machine, so I just crocheted the tail. One thing I don't love about making plushies on the knitting machine is the amount of sewing. Each piece requires sewing. There are 2 legs, a body, 2 arms, a head. You have to sew the body up, make the legs, sew the arms together, and then onto the body twice because there are 2 arms. Then sew the head together and sew that onto the body, and then there's the face. So it's a lot of sewing, and that is not my favorite part. Oh, I also forgot the tail. I crocheted a tail because I was done fighting with my knitting machine. Um, the part that I do love is when I'm sewing this together and watching all the pieces fit together. And then when it's done, I'm so happy because the thing that I imagined is now in front of me. Um, Originally, I did not make this with a white face. I went back and used punch bowl for the white part of the face. I used duplicate stitches for that. Then I used peppermint stripe and I made a little bandana. This friend actually learned to crochet recently and makes herself little head kerchiefs or bandanas, whatever you prefer to call them. And they are so cute. And I love when she messages me to show me the new thing that she's crocheted. And I love that. So now that we're kind of winding down towards the end of this video, to recap, I do really, really like this yarn. I don't love it going through my 22 pin circular knitting machine, and I am bummed that I couldn't get all of the colors. I also don't love that it's 4.3 ounces instead of 6. I kind of feel like I'm missing, you know, the other 2 ounces of yarn in my skein. But aside from those, I do just really like this yarn. It's really festive. I love how soft it is, and I think it's really pretty. I also love that there are a bunch of different colors and they're not just, red and green that a lot of people think for Christmas. I personally am not sure how often I would use Christmas yarn like this. I try not to lock myself into seasonal or holiday specifics, but this was a really fun project to see what I could make with yarn that was very clearly Christmassy. And now that we're at the end of the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, hit the bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload next, and I hope you have a safe and pleasant holiday. I'll see you in the next video.